Hi, welcome back to 12 Step Up. My name is Richie. Once again, we focus this channel on recovery and 12 step programs. Today we have a guest. His name is Craig.
My name's Craig.
What's up, man? How are you?
Not doing too bad. How you
All
doing?
right, good, good. Hey, do you want to tell us a little bit about what was your drug of choice?
My drug of choice is alcohol.
Alcohol? Okay. How old were you when you started drinking?
About 12.
About 12.
Yeah.
All right. How was that?
Well, I remember my first time really taking a hard alcoholic drink. I was around 12. I can't remember the exact age, but me and my brother found some tequila and didn't know what it was. Never had tequila, never heard anything about it. And I took a drink of it and it was nasty. So we mixed it with some tea and I had about a small glass of it. And I remember puking it up, and then I asked my brother if he was going to finish his, and that probably should have been a sign then
Yeah.
that I still wanted more, even though I was sick from it.
So did you drink again anytime soon, or was
It,
that like a one and
it,
off?
it was one off for a few years. I wasn't really around alcohol too much
Okay,
back then. I mean, it was mostly marijuana at the time.
okay. So when did you actually start drinking a little more serious?
About 18 when it started becoming readily available in high school,
Okay,
and it was a constant thing. My buddies would get some 30 bombs, and they'd go get drunk at a bonfire, and they'd all go to sleep, and I'd still be wandering around looking for more.
sounds familiar.
Yeah, it was a constant for me.
Right. So what did you do? I mean, how was your life? How was your life growing up?
My life growing up, I had a pretty rough childhood. I was pretty well abused by my stepfather, and I found that the only attention that I could get was by causing problems, and that even if it was bad attention, it was at least it was attention at the time. So that's what worked for me getting through my childhood was causing problems and getting bad attention for it, and then a little later on, I started straightening out a little bit before I joined the military. But
Okay. How old were you when you joined the military?
I was 21. I waited till I turned 21 so I could do a bar crawl before I went in.
That's right. Okay. So between the ages of 18 and 21, did you have anything major happen in your life
Just
as far as drinking?
drinking wise, no,
No.
no, just going out and partying whenever I could, whenever we had our hands on it. And then I turned 21, did the bar crawl, and pretty much joined the military right after.
Okay. Um, which leads me to my topic for today, the military. When you joined the military, um, I know this firsthand because a lot of my family members are military, and my son is military as well, and they weren't drinkers before they went into the military. Were you like one of those that comes out of the military and just kind of drinks, but just kind of binges and then stops, or were you just like off and running?
I was a little bit of everything. Before I went in the military, I didn't drink that much. It was just when it was available. When I went to basic, obviously I didn't drink because we didn't have it available. And then when I got out, I went back to drinking, but it was, maybe four fingers of whiskey a night kind of thing. It wasn't overdoing it to an extent. And then prior to deployment, it really started picking up. And then I deployed, and we had 9 months where I didn't drink at all. And when I got home, that's when it really, really started picking up. I was constantly drunk. Everybody was constantly drunk. It was a normal to show up to work drunk and run 5 miles and go have another drink and eat
Yeah.
breakfast and go back to work. Just became functional alcoholics at that point. I mean,
Did you see it as a problem then?
no, because I was always told that I was a functional alcoholic, and
Plus, everybody
yeah,
is
everybody
doing it
around me was
around
doing
you. Okay.
it.
So when you get out of the service, did you ever get in trouble in the
Yeah.
service in the military while you were drinking?
No, the only trouble I almost got in was my ex-wife I married before I got in the military, or right after I got in the military. She went to jail for domestic violence, and it was partially my fault. But I was drinking, and I started laughing at her when she was hitting me, and it just made things worse.
I've been there.
but no real trouble in the military. It was hard to get in trouble when everybody was doing it, you know.
Yeah, yeah. So when did your drinking career kind of take off?
I would say right after deployment, it started escalating and escalating. About a year after deployment, I got out, and that was when I came across moonshine, um, and that's when it started really escalating. Um, and there's periods of calm downs where it kind of tapered off. I joined the apprenticeship that I'm in right now, and I'm a journeyman now. But back when I was an apprentice, I saw myself um, getting in a lot of trouble because of drinking, and then I would straighten out for a week or two and go right back to it. It seemed like if I wasn't keeping my head busy, it got worse. So, you know,
Did you ever um did you ever think you had a problem like without anybody telling you?
without anybody telling me, no.
No.
But at that point in my life, in the apprenticeship and everything, everybody started saying something, and I got fired from a job for the first time in my life, and right shortly after that, I drank myself even farther into a hole. Um, Went around partying for a little while, and then I actually ended up getting married again. And shortly after I got married, 6 months was all it lasted. I was drinking myself pretty much to death at that point, and that's when I went to rehab for the first time.
Well, while this is happening, did you ever get into the legal problems?
No, I actually stayed out of trouble pretty well. One of the little rules that I did have was I would never drink and drive, and that kept me at my house isolating anyways.
So you followed that rule?
Yeah, as
No.
much as, well, 99% of the time. There was obviously times where I absolutely needed a bottle and still drunk from the night
Yeah,
before, you know.
not a lot of us can do that.
No.
So okay, so you get into rehab.
uh, so I get into rehab and I go to a rehab down in Florida, and I remember I got there and they told me to drink the whole way there, and that's kind of one of the typical practices is you keep them drinking so they don't start DTing on the way.
Yeah.
And I get down there and they started medicating me so heavy that I felt more intoxicated than I was when I was drinking. And I think the second night I was there, somebody sleeping next to me died, and I remember them carrying him out. But that first couple days, I don't remember much. I do remember kind of coming to, and the two people that I'd met were still there, and then I ended up actually AMA in that place, and I went off to another rehab in Florida, and they actually did a lot better job. But I started getting stir crazy, and about 28 days into that rehab, I AMA'd, came back home, thought I had it licked this time, and I didn't.
So what did you do after that?
I started drinking slowly.
Okay, like a gentleman.
Yeah, like I had control over it.
Okay.
Um, but this time, I think it escalated way faster than anything I could have expected. Um, I went through jobs. I think in my apprenticeship, I had about 35 different jobs that I've been on.
Jeez.
So in 5 years, I bounced around a lot, and this time I was out for a contractor that was going to keep me working for a long period of time. And we were going through training. It was during the winter, this time of year, and it was real bad weather, and we were staying home a lot. And I actually was living with my brother at the time because I couldn't keep a roof over my head to save my life, and he was a drug addict, which didn't help anything. So me and him were constantly fighting, and his mom was actually it turned out his mom was paying the mortgage on the house, and we got in a huge fight. I called his mom a bunch of names that I probably shouldn't have, and I ended up getting kicked out, and I moved into a hotel in Kennewick, and that's where I started drinking myself to death this last time. I started calling in sick nonstop. Alcohol was right down the street. I could walk and get booze whenever I needed it. It was right across the street from a restaurant, so every once in a while I'd go over there and eat. I remember seeing my mom come into the hotel room once, and she'd driven all the way from Montana, so about a 5 hour drive, and I pretty much kicked her out. And I just kept drinking and drinking and drinking, and I drank until I blacked out, wake up, start over again. There was probably a couple times that I stopped to go get something to eat. But when I went to go get something to eat, there were more alcohol. Just continued and started puking up blood, and my liver stopped digesting the alcohol. I would take a shot and I would black out. And I remember calling all my friends that had helped me get off the rehab the first time and asking for help. And they all said the same thing. We helped you last time. You need to get yourself this time. And so I continued drinking. And a friend that I hadn't talked to in about 2, 3 years shows up at the hotel at noon during his work day and gets me off to rehab. Now, this time, I had admitted that I had been defeated. I lost all control. There was not even a semblance of control anymore in my life. And when he got me out to rehab, I was very grateful. I got down to this place in Texas. Um, the first thing I noticed, because I'd been to a bad rehab before and I'd been to a good rehab before, so I'd seen both sides of it, was that my neighbor was selling drugs out of his room, which was great.
That's awesome.
Um, and then shortly after I realized that, I started calling the original or the second place I'd been to down in Florida. It was a really good place, and they told me to AMA and to come down there. Um, so I did, and on the way out, the guard driving me out the gate was buying cocaine from one of the other guys there, and got off to the place in Florida, and the first thing I did when I got there was I started chasing all 12-step programs that I could. I was trying to find a way to fix this, and I didn't care what it took. I was done. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much how that went for me.
How much sobriety time do you have now?
I have a little over 4 years now.
That's awesome. Congratulations. So, who's paying for all these rehabs?
Me, me, and my insurance.
Okay.
I was still insured at the time, luckily.
So, you get to this last rehab, and what what actually made you, dig in to a 12-step program?
Well, when I went into the rooms of the recovery programs, they all had the same attitude for me, which I'd never seen in my life, is to keep showing up, to come back. They wanted to see me. It wasn't unwelcoming. It was a very welcoming group of people, and it was something that I'd never had in my life. So that was the start of that. Uh, that and I actually met Beth in rehab, and we were both pushing each other at the time to do this stuff, and that was a real big driving factor in our lives at the time.
Okay. So you're a vet. Um, what would you what would you say to any vet out there suffering
Ask,
with addiction, alcoholism?
I think the only thing that I can say is one of the things that I was taught in the military was to avoid asking for help. Um, that you could do it with your team, or you could do it with your brothers. You could get through any situation as long as you had each other. Um, but in reality, that's not something that needs to come out of the military. Once you change into the civilian lifestyle, it's really hard to grip that concept, asking for help. Um, and it took me. I got out in 2014, and it took me till 2018 to truly ask for help. It took me 4 years of suffering for no reason to just break down and finally do it. Um, I don't wish that on anybody, and I wish there was a way that the military could um, you know, kind of get it into our heads that we can ask for help instead of um, just suffering.
I think addiction and alcoholism is one of those, stigmas, and
You know,
nobody really wants to talk about it, right? Like, I know you're an alcoholic, but quiet down a little bit. Like, don't say it out
yeah,
loud. You know what I
right.
mean? And I think that not only does it go for the military, I think it goes in everyday life, um, because there's a lot of us that don't. Me personally, I don't care. Everybody knows, I have a problem with drugs and alcohol, so I don't. When people meet me, I'm very honest, because I'm very proud of the fact that I am, because it took me blood, sweat, and tears to get to where I am now, and I'm forever grateful for these 12-step programs. So I don't really care. I'll say it to anybody, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I think me, because of my experience, I don't care.
Mhm.
But I think in a lot of we're in a setting where it's professional, people try to or tend to hush hush about it, you know.
Absolutely, and I understand that completely. I was when I came back and I was working again. Not very many people knew that I even left for that reason. Well, the only person that really knew was my boss, and he didn't tell anybody. And now I have no problem with it. But when I first got sober and first started the program and all that stuff, yeah, I wasn't ready to share it. But now I don't care who knows. In all honesty, I got through what I got through, and I'm here today because of what I've been through. Um, Without the 12-step programs, I wouldn't be alive.
That's right.
There's no questions about that. One of the biggest things I did learn, and I'm still learning, that I wish I could have learned back in the military was about 3.5 years into being sober, I started to realize that I don't have to make mistakes, that I can actually take advice from people and learn from their mistakes. And that's something that I wish I would have learned a long time ago.
I think our higher power has a purpose, and it's all within its time.
Yep.
We have to we have to learn, and we have to learn and suffer in our own time, and sometimes it sucks, right?
Hmm.
Um, but I just had we just interviewed my sister. She's in the military now, and she she was given she was giving us some information in regards to alcohol or drug use, and it's in one of our last videos. If you want to look back into it, she was she gave me all this military talk that I have no idea what she was talking about, but
Yeah.
she said it out on the camera. So if anybody needs help in the military, go ahead and look up that video, and you'll get some information from that. But we interviewed her, and basically it was the other side of addiction, alcoholism, because she was a kid when my older brother and my younger brother that passed away and myself were in our active addiction. She doesn't remember anything, man. And I thought I had to do so many amends, and she doesn't. She's like, no, I remember you like being this nice guy and
Yeah.
really loving. So I mean, that's good. Again,
Yeah.
this whole time I kind of avoided talking to her about alcoholism because I was like, man, she's gonna bring all these things up, and like, how am I gonna make amends if I don't
Right.
even remember? And it was just it made me feel good. So thank you, man, for like letting us know about like all these things. What would you what would you change today in your sobriety from the beginning, from when you first came in?
Um, Not really anything. The only thing that wish I would have realized when I first became into a 12-step program is that I can't place dependence upon other people. I have dependence upon my higher power. That took me a year and a half, and somebody taking me through the program to go out for me to realize that, um, because I had placed dependence upon the man that had brought me into the program, and it was extremely difficult for me to find my way back. I didn't go out, I didn't relapse, I was still going to meetings, but I wasn't all there for a while. It took me about 6 months to a year to fully get back into it. Um, I'm glad I never stopped, but I wish I would have, been taught that when I first came in.
What would you say about helping others?
Helping others I think it's one of the best things we can do to get us out of ourselves. Um, I know that every time I've ever helped anybody, regardless of if it's part of the program or outside of the program, it takes me out of all my problems and it helps me get through anything.
It does. It really does. So now, are you like helping a lot of men out there, or is it just? I know it's slim pickings out in our area, but
I do what I can. I'm not taking anybody through the steps right now. Right now, I'm actually going back through them with a new person and to relearn them, to revisit everything, to make sure that I didn't miss anything.
right.
Because I feel that it's a very, very good thing to go through 'em more than once.
So your life is, in comparison to what it was when you were out there, it's pretty good.
It's unimaginable. I could have never dreamed that I'd be where I am today. Um, I got a career, I got a life, I've got a program, I've got a higher power. Um, none of which I could have even ever thought of when I was drinking myself to death
Right,
in a
right.
hotel bed.
So you're a journeyman now in your trade.
Yes.
How long did it take you to become a journeyman?
6 years and 10,000 working hours.
How long would it typically take?
5 years and 10,000 working hours.
You didn't burn too much time, so
No.
that's good. You kept on it.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, we all have our story, right?
Right.
I don't really do a lot of drunk logs on our program just because there's people out there. I have a daughter that is 13 years old,
Hmm.
and so she's really invested in this show, and she calls me every day, or I call her every day to see which episode she watched, and she's 13 again, and she's amazed at some of the things that she hears, and
Yeah.
she says, "I didn't know this, I didn't know that." So, I mean, your story is going to help anybody out there listening. Um, would you consider yourself an introvert, an extrovert?
Intro. Yeah.
Intro,
I was good at isolating before isolating was a thing.
right, right.
So when COVID came, me and my buddy played Call of Duty a lot, and isolating was just normal. It didn't change my life at all.
Man, I try to do that, but can't when you got kids.
Yeah, yeah, no, I understand. I don't have any, so it's
um,
it's easy for me.
so, how are you now? I mean, when you were drinking, were you an introvert or an extrovert?
Mostly, mostly, and then until I hit a certain point, and
Uh-huh.
once I hit that certain point, I came to the life of the party.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I had a lot of good times and a lot of bad times
Okay.
drinking, but none of them compare to the days that I have today.
How did COVID affect you in your recovery?
It was rough. I honestly dislike Zoom a lot. I just can't. I have ADHD pretty bad too. So my focus on a computer screen that's not moving or I'm not controlling or something, I have a hard time with. So I had a really hard time getting any sort of message or anything out of anything that anybody said. It felt like I was doing it just to do it.
Yeah.
Um, but it didn't. I mean, I had just had shoulder surgery, so I was already pretty laid up, anyways. But it didn't help me very much, but it didn't hurt, so I just kept doing it.
My uh, my experience with COVID was the Zoom meetings. I couldn't stare into the screen
Mm.
because I mean, all of a sudden there's a scroll here and there's a scroll here, and I'm trying to focus and I can't. And so if you're fighting that much to focus, you're missing the
Yeah,
message, and the
absolutely.
message has already passed.
Hmm.
Um, I think because I am married to an alcoholic, um, I think that helped me a lot because we were home for a little bit. I was laid off work for a month. Doctor told me not to go because I was whatever, at risk. And my wife was off of work for 2 weeks. Thank God, because I think if it would have gone past the 2 weeks, we either killed each other or drank because she's not ADHD
Yeah,
and I'm ADHD, and
bounce
I
off
want
the
to do
walls. Yeah,
yeah, and I want to do everything, but I don't want to do anything,
absolutely.
and I want to start everything, but I don't want to finish it.
Hmm.
So, how does your ADHD um, affect your program, or is it like
It so far as I've noticed, as long as I know that I have issues, and as long as I keep them in, keep my brain locked onto what's going on, I don't have issues. But like I said, when I did the Zoom meetings, I just could not, for the life of me, keep my head in there. Um, I meet with my sponsor a lot of times on Zoom, which is kind of funny in itself because we're going through and I have a hard time with it. But I told them that I do, and we work through it, make sure I get everything I need out of it. And, he pokes at me every once in a while, make sure I'm still paying attention. So that helps. Um, but for the most part, as long as I know that I need to stay focused, I can stay focused. It's when I let my brain just start wandering, it
yeah?
goes off on 7,000 different directions. So,
That's good that you stayed through COVID. A lot of people didn't stay. A lot of people with a lot of years
mhm.
went out, and that's unfortunate. We both stayed, so that's good.
Yeah, yeah,
I think I think addiction, alcoholism is a daily struggle. For those of you that don't know, it really is a daily struggle. How do you start off your day?
I start off my day asking for direction, basically, thanking for another day. And I always end my day thanking for the day and look for things that I've done wrong and what I can fix. What problems I caused and what I can do about it.
I start off my day like this. I jump out of bed because I'm late. Um, I do the three S's,
Yeah.
and then make my coffee, and then I run off. And I'm off to the races. But on my way to work, I always thank God for another day
Mhm.
and to give me the power to be a better person than I was the day before yesterday. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But when
Yeah.
it doesn't, I take note of that and I try to correct where I
Was wrong.
was
Yeah.
wrong. So that's good that you still have that. So are you involved with any like outside service work?
Outside service work? Not really. No.
No. Okay. So how is it that you how many meetings do you actually go to, whatever program you go to?
So when I'm working full time, which I haven't been lately because we've been having a lot of snow days and stuff. When I'm working full time, I try to make at least three a week.
Ah, that's good.
Um, when I'm not working full time, it's every day. I try to get down there at least once, if not twice.
That's good.
It's the way it works for me, and as long as I keep my head in it, I know that it'll work.
That's good, man. That's good. I know I'm gonna make it to two,
Hmm.
for the most part, but I know I'm making it to one a week for sure.
Absolutely.
Um, but I typically try to make another one during the week just to kind of keep me balanced.
Yeah.
Um, but also with work, I don't have time, and then I have
Mhm.
kids, and I don't forget where I come from,
Yeah.
because if I forget where I come from, everything that I have is going to be gone, and I
Absolutely.
don't ever want that to happen. So I continue to attend a 12-step program. Um, so do you go to any like men's meetings, or is it
Yeah.
you do? Okay.
Yeah. So right now I'm kind of limping my shoulder, but normally I would my schedule during the week I work 10 hours a day, 4 tens. But I wake up at 2:30 to go to the gym.
Oof.
Then I go to work, and that gets my head clear before I go to work. So it really really helps with my work day, especially because
What time do you go to bed, man?
I about 7:30 every night.
That's crazy.
So when I'm working full time, I don't usually have time to go to the men's meetings during the week, but I try to as often as I can.
What would you say the difference is between the men's and the mixed?
I think it's more of a um, directed meeting towards the way we were, and it doesn't have filters. Um, it seems like we all put up filters when we're around females,
Yeah,
and it's for good reason. Some of the stuff that we did in the past is terrible.
it is.
Um, but you go to a group of men, and you can talk about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because you can say you did like to you in your eyes in your head, it's the worst thing, and they're like, "Oh, dude,
Yeah, it's not
that's
even
like
bad.
nothing, bro. Chill out, man. That's nothing."
Right.
But okay, man. I'm really glad you decided to do this interview. Is there anything you'd like to tell our viewers?
Mm, Nothing comes up off the top of my head.
What about any motivational for anybody struggling that wants this but just can't seem to find that? What would you tell them?
To ask for help.
That's right.
Don't be scared. It's not going to kill you, but the diseases will kill you. So ask for help when you need it, and um, take it when it's offered.
Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate your time.
Yep.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
All right, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe, share, follow us on TikTok and Instagram. And thank you, guys.